January 5th, 2024. This is the S&P 500 E-futures mini on the 2000 tick chart using the NinjaTrader 8 platform. There was economic data released at 5:30, which is about right here. And it looked like it whipsawed and then it created this gigantic rally. And then another piece of economic data that released at 7:30, about, 7 o'clock Pacific Standard, was the ISM Services PMI. What happened at 5:30 was the hourly earnings as well as the non-farm employment change and the unemployment rate. So I guess the numbers was everybody responded to the numbers very positively, so it caused this big reaction. A little bit of a chop and then a sell-off and then kind of a big range. But overall, it looked like kind of a big M. And I'm getting the trades right now. I only took one trade today. There was probably 2 to 3 other possible trades that probably were there, but I don't think I recognized it in time. And since I had 2 losing days in a row, I was a little more cautious. And after I got my winning trade, I think I was just trying to take it easy. I also tried not to mark up the charts with everything that I saw with possible setups and just try to mark it up when I thought I saw there was a viable trade or something worth noting. Oops, keep my notes a little cleaner. I'll get into the trades right now. In the pre-market, prices were kind of selling off in this nice range. It was very choppy. This is really good price action today. There was like good volume, good swings, good movement. But there was a lot of noise as well, but it was much easier trading or much more price action, just more bars, more opportunities today than has been in quite a while. So that was pretty nice. The first setup that I saw, but this is the pre-market, so I wasn't even available to take it. I saw this as a new low. It's a first entry short, second entry short. There's a good signal bar. It is being pushed down by the EMA, and I like that it was one push down, it's 2 legs up, and then the second leg down. And so after this leg down, you'd think this is also right around where the economic data came out. But after this push down, you would think that it's probably going to, it's got rejected by the EMA, such a strong bar. This might have been worth a trade, but this happened in the pre-market, so I wasn't even around. And this happened right around 4 minutes after the news came out. So it could still be a little bit dangerous. It's just this interesting setup that I saw. Then prices reversed. Keep in mind, I don't have this red channel drawn yet. Look, there was one move, pull back, and then a second move. So this looked like 2 legs up, but then instead of correcting, it just kind of fell into this gradual rally. And here, I don't really see any clean entry that I like. Yes, previous me would have just marked up everything, and I would have, there is a new high, first entry long, second entry long. It's a terrible signal bar. It did bounce off the EMA, but doesn't feel very safe. And so right on the open, it already has another second entry long right here. But if you count this as one leg down, a consolidation, a second leg down, you could count this maybe as like a visual second entry. And if you had this channel going up, this might have been worth a trade because the signal bar is pretty small, but I wasn't too keen on taking this trade because this is only the first 2 minutes of the open and usually can get pretty choppy and whipsaw. Then prices move up, it consolidates, it falls into this yellow channel, which I quickly draw after here, touching 2 times, and it looked like it touched pretty nicely 3 times up here. It creates a new high, first entry long pullback, creates the second entry long by 1 tick. So what I liked about this is it broke below the EMA, which I wasn't too keen on because it's a first entry, second entry, which kind of completed at the bottom. But it did move 1 tick below right here, the signal bar, which would be this guy, grabbed some shorts, then pushed up and closed 1 tick above. So it's engulfing this entire red candle, but it made me hesitate just because it all occurred below the EMA. And on top of that, this candle, the trigger bar, never pushed and broke and closed above the EMA. So that gives me a little bit of pause because it could have been first entry, second entry. Even though it closed very strong, it could fail. And I was a little more careful on that. So I just wanted to see potentially a higher low setup. Moves around, and here you get a higher low. So this higher low isn't bad. So it broke 1 tick, broke I think 2 ticks below, then flashed up. The thing that caused me to hesitate, even though it's a possible trade, it confirms the second entry long. It's moving back into this yellow range, and it did close above the EMA, which was the deficit or what was missing here. And The thing that was holding me back is I wasn't sure how strong this pre-market resistance range would be because it could have been a fail breakout and then we could have just ended the day just in this gigantic range. So I wasn't 100% sure. I decided to leave it alone. But in all other instances, if this pre-market high just wasn't here, I think I would have considered taking this trade. What would have maybe tilted it in my favor is if it ticked one above this guy. But as you can see, it made a double top. So it tells me that traders, or at least the buyers, didn't have enough power to push it even one tick above here. So it was a little sketchy in my opinion. So I left it alone. But it is a possible trade if you're aggressive. It breaks off above. And now here I see a new low, first entry short, second entry short. Here, the second entry short fails, and I like this trade because it looks like it's moving back into the EMA, and the previous signal bar engulfed, excuse me, the previous setup engulfed this candle here, as well as this setup. So it was telling me like, hey, this is a pretty nice, pretty decent setup to take a risk on. The signal bar, you know, it is a failure here. It didn't tick one tick below, but it did reverse strongly up and over and there is enough room before you hit the other side. So I decided that this was worth a trade to take and is going with trend. So I entered, after it broke above, I entered one tick above the previous bar, which is here. I was able to get in. I thought, okay, this is a reasonable risk to take. I was able to quickly get my scalp, and then prices moved up. Then it consolidates. And getting this win was helpful because the last couple days I didn't have very good trading. So it was nice to kind of at least reset and see. And even as things were going, I felt like, okay, the day might actually turn out to be decent in terms of setups and just price action, more volume. The prices continue moving. You do have a new high here. The first entry long, but that's all you get. Prices then continue chopping, moves up. And here I'm thinking, okay, it looks like it's kind of breaking out of this yellow channel. It's not being contained as well. I started looking around. And I found what I thought might have been this red channel. Like most of the price action might be kind of like floating in this larger channel. So I'd just be paying more attention if it ever gets these extremes. And I'm still looking for confirmation because I'm not fully bought in on it yet. We do have a new low here. First entry short, second entry short, but this isn't a very good signal bar. Plus, now you have a confirmed second entry short. It feels like it'd be counter trend trading. It did have a failed breakout, so you could expect prices to move back down, but I just wasn't sure about that. It looks like if you did enter, you would have gotten trapped and most likely stopped out. If not, definitely something here would have stopped you out. Then prices continue moving. It chops up, and it's just very, very tight trading right here, but it is very, very bullish. So I'm just looking for a good point to enter. You don't really quite get one. You do have a new high, first entry long, and then looking for second entry long, broke below the EMA now. So I'm kind of putting a putting putting my trades on hold because I'm not really sure what's going on now. Price then continues consolidating. This is just pretty much side by side. You do have a double bottom here. You have first entry short, actually, excuse me, right here. Unfortunately, you don't get a second entry short until about right here. And now the second entry short, you get a confirmed second entry short, new low here. First entry short, second entry short confirmed. You also have a new high, first entry long, creates a second entry long, and now it failed your second entry short. So it's a first entry short, second entry short failure, first entry long, second entry long. Now, when this formed, I wasn't quite in tune with seeing anything. Then when this one formed, then I realized, hey, I actually have a triple test right here. This could have been a possible trade. Also didn't think about it at the time, but it is a break of this green channel. So I made one attempt up. This could be a second attempt up to test the highs here. On top of that, it broke out of this red channel as well as this yellow channel. So it broke out of something, whether you took the yellow channel or red channel, it broke out of a channel for sure. It made one attempt up, and this could be a second attempt up. So in hindsight, I didn't see this in real time. I only saw it like way over here, or actually further down when I had more time to think about it. But in real time, a decision had to be made. If you trusted this triple test, potential bottom of the range, this is actually a pretty decent setup, I thought, because you're trying to meet the highs here as well as meet the highs here. Made one attempt up. This could be the second attempt up. Decent signal bar. Failed second entry short. And so after this already formed, then I knew, okay, well, if there was a trade here, I would definitely feel cautious because I wasn't sure if it bounced off of here. And I wanted to see maybe a higher low. You do get a higher low here, but this is a doji bar. So this is kind of a missed opportunity, just I think due to lack of experience, and I didn't quite see this uh, forming the way it did. So the more I see these, hopefully next time when I see something like this, I'll take the chance. Also want to point out that this candle is about 2.25 points, so it might have been worth a trade to take, but I didn't take it, so it's besides the fact now. Starts moving up. I feel like it's falling into this channel going up. You don't get any clean second entries, so I had to leave it alone. You do have a hidden second entry here, so new high, first entry long, pullback creates a second entry long all in this candle. It didn't break above, so it's a little sketchy. On top of that, you're already pushing against the highs, so not to say that it's going to come back up and test it. It could get rejected, just like this guy stopped short. So I saw this in real time after missing this, and I thought, okay, well, just leave it alone. Prices then continue moving. You have a new high here. It's first entry long, second entry long. This is a decent signal bar, but it's an inside bar to this very strong push down. So seeing this definitely doesn't tell me to get ready to go for a long. Seeing this, confirming the second entry long, also does not tell me to get ready to go for a long. It just says price just moved and it did that. So don't get too eager to take a trade. Price has moved up. I do see it as new low. So first entry short, second entry short, rejected off the top. Now, second entry short, I was debating whether this is actual possible trade. It's like an almost setup because there's a possible triple test at the top here. One touch, potentially two touch, three touch. So potentially a triple test, but I wanted a better bearish bar after the break of this green channel because it broke. And after this break of this green channel, it did come up and test and make a new high. So here, you could be thinking getting ready for second entry short, but if this bar had closed a little more bearish, at least outside of this green channel, then I think I would have considered taking a trade. Now it is relative because it depends on how you drew your green channel. Because if you drew your green channel a little bit wider, then you're still within and inside. So you would definitely not even be thinking about that. But the way I had it drawn, it was pretty close. And I wanted it to close outside because I tried to make this guy touch as well in these stems. This one kind of had at least 4 touches. If you drew it a little bit differently, then you really only had 1 touch, 2 touch, 3 touch, or you could have just drawn it from the very low here and had it something like this, in which case, it's riding right, depending on how you drew it. I didn't like this one because it's riding right against this, and on top of that, it's neglecting the touches here. So the way I had my channel drawn, I liked it pretty well, but unfortunately, to get this touch, 1 touch, 2 touch, 3 touch, 4 touch, it didn't close outside. So this is an almost setup. It was unfortunately like this glorious move would have been made. Like you would have gotten a really great scalp and a very good runner if you had a runner, but it just didn't quite form right. So it was like an almost setup. If you're more aggressive and you thought the triple test was good enough, then you probably would have gotten a pretty good trade out of it. Fortunately, I didn't. And then prices continue moving down. It gets a little bit choppy here. You only really get first entries, both on the long side and the short side. I saw this, but I wasn't sure because when this was forming, you definitely can see that there's some kind of strong trend coming down. And every time you have a strong trend, clearly it looks like it's kind of coming back down now after the strong push up. I put an arrow there just to kind of for my own notes. I saw this as a first entry short. There is no second entry short, but it is possibly getting rejected by the EMA. It had a very strong rejection. What caused me to be paused, or what caused me to take pause is, even though it's a really strong signal bar, there's no room before it hits the localized low. So even if you did think at least it's going to come back down to the green, there's not that much room either. So it was just an interesting thing that I saw, but I don't think necessarily there was any trade there or any safe trade. It turns out it would have worked, but of course you don't know that at the time. Other times it probably would not have worked. You have a new low, first entry short, second entry short. It's a bad signal bar for the second entry short. Then things just kind of consolidate again, kind of chopping. It falls into what I think is this orange channel coming down. So I'm just kind of watching now. It breaks out of the yellow channel, excuse me, orange channel, makes one push up. Now it's making a second push up, and it kind of gets trouble. It looks like it's falling into fighting against this potential resistance of this trading range in blue. Saw a new low. It's the first entry short. Technically, you have a new low here, but I grouped this together. So it's the first entry short, second entry short, but this is the second entry short signal bar, which isn't very good. This next bar, the trigger bar, is good, but I don't like taking a short here because this already here wasn't that convincing. You could debate and say that it is coming off the top of the range. So it just wasn't enough going for it to make me feel safe. Granted, if you took it, you would have gotten filled here. Depending on where you're going and where you kept your stop, you might have gotten stopped out right here. But if you waited and played it through, it would have worked. But per the rules I'm following, I likely would have gotten stopped out here. So this just wasn't a good clean setup in the first place. I do see this. It's a breakout of this blue channel, and I did see a new high here. Can't can't deny that this is the latest high. It's a first entry long pullback, second entry long. So this first entry long was very tiny right here. Second entry long, it's a break of this green channel. So you're expecting a test of this extreme, as well as this orange has been tested now by this channel moving down. So you'd be playing off the failed second entry long, which is about to happen, and it creates a failed second entry long. The thing is, it pushed out of this range, so I'm thinking it's a failed breakout, because you could say that maybe it is. It'd be better if the EMA came down and touched it and rejected it, but didn't. So this is felt like a little bit of a riskier trade, but I think the setup was there. It's just not good enough for me. And it looked like it would have worked by going short because first entry long, second entry long failure, and a failed breakout, failed to go back into the range. But this signal bars, they're just too neutral for me. Didn't give me enough good feeling to go in the direction of a short. Then prices continue moving down. It looks like it moves back into range. I drew this, and I was actually a little bit higher, something like that. I'm looking for a setup, but I don't really see anything very good. So now it kind of falls into this consolidation again. You do have a new high, first entry long, second entry long. It's a bad signal bar. I don't like it. Technically, you have a new low here. You have a first entry short, second entry short failure, but this is just kind of noisy. So even if you group this together as one low, you can say it's a first entry short. Second entry short comes up here. The second entry short on this very strong move up, it feels counter trend now. So I wasn't sure. So I definitely didn't mark it, left it alone. Prices then consolidate. It looks like it breaks out of this trading range and makes one clean leg down. So it's a new high. It's a first entry long pullback. This is a second entry long potential fail breakout, but it's coming from an overshoot. If the range was up here and not clearly down here, then this could have been a failed breakout. I think this would have been a valuable setup. But since it came from a breakout here, it could make a matching breakout here, or it could continue downwards because it broke out of this green channel. It clearly made one push up, pulled back, made the second push up, and already completed the test of the high. So it could be making its way back down. So to go long here felt risky, especially looking at this in real time. Prices then kind of chopped around, gets a little noisy. I unfortunately see this drop, and I didn't see a good way to have entered. It falls down, falls through, breaks out of this yellow channel, and now consolidates again. I don't see any good setups. Do you have a new low? First entry short, second entry short. Second entry short, it didn't fail immediately, so it was kind of chopping around here. But when you're looking for a failed second entry short, that means your bias is to go long, and clearly you're in a range and you're running into EMA. So that is just, that has no written all over it. Breaks out, kind of chops around. You have a new high, first entry long, second entry long. This is your signal bar, and it ticked one tick above. It is at the low. Again, you have an overshoot and you have an overshoot, but the bias clearly is kind of going south now. So to go long would be counter trend. Even though you're thinking, okay, it could come back up and push against the EMA. That's what I was thinking as well, but I wasn't sure, so I left it alone. Continues chopping around. Now, depending if you're going for 1, 2, 3, 4 points, you either got it or you would have gotten stopped out here. I do see I do see a second entry short here, but it's unfortunate. It's already really late in the day. It's a new low here. It's a push, 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 push. Your first entry short confirmed. Push up, second entry short. Now, I actually thought this is a good setup, except not good enough for the time of day. because the good signal bar is a break of this green channel and went pushed up, so the up push has completed. I also like that it is testing against the pre-market highs, which didn't really come into play, but it is there. And when it rejected and closed very bearish, if this wasn't within the last 10 minutes and it was a different time of day, I would have considered maybe there's a trade here because there could be this larger range that you're playing in and it has a good signal bar, so it's maybe good enough for at least a quick scalp. And pushing it all the way down to the EMA, I felt would have been ambitious, but as you can see, if you went for any more, you would have gotten stopped out. So this setup definitely was just interesting. It was there, but definitely not something to take, especially so late in the day. I saw the same thing here with a new high, first entry long, second entry long. Fortunately, I needed the EMA to have, I needed the prices to have bounced off the EMA, and then we go into the close. That's how I saw the charts today. I only saw probably a handful of possible trades, one of which was probably, let's see, where did it go? Oh, this one was possibly a trade that I missed, but I didn't recognize it in time. And then probably maybe this trade, if I trusted the triple test enough, but it is counter trend, while this one's with trend. So this one is probably a possible trade. This one, I don't think was anything there. This one might have been a trade if it was a different time of day. So that's how I saw the trades today. Hopefully that was helpful.